Hello and welcome everyone. This is Alena. Chronic mold exposure is one of the greatest health threats, especially since it very often goes undiagnosed. How to recognize the symptoms of the mold exposure and how to prevent the growth of mold in the homes and in workplaces. This is what this video is all about. But first, I want to thank everyone for liking this video, commenting, and subscribing to my channel. What is mold actually? It belongs to the kingdom of fungi, which plays an enormously beneficial role in our planet. The fungi, the mold in particular, their primary function is to decompose organic matter, ashes to ashes, so to say. The most common species that propagate in our homes are Stachybotrys, Aspergillus nigrum, and some other species, and Fusarium. Not all of them produce black mold, and not all of them produce horrendous moldy smell. However, they all propagate by spores. They require elevated moisture, and all of them produce mycotoxins. And these mycotoxins we can absorb through our skin, through our eyeballs, we can breathe in. And what happens then? Our immune system reacts to them and increases inflammation. And this inflammation can manifest in the whole range of symptoms. Everyone is different. Everyone has different weaknesses in the body. So chronic mold poisoning can be recognized by various allergies out of nowhere, and not necessarily to the mold itself. It could be sudden allergy for animals, for pets, for certain foods, and so on and so forth. Also, all kinds of skin rash, like eczema and eczema-style rash, all kinds of bumpy, scaly things on the skin. Respiratory issues, of course, asthma, for example, pain in the joints, right? Various digestive issues out of nowhere. And also things like insomnia, brain fog, memory loss, general fatigue and lack of energy, which we also associate very often with normal aging or abnormal aging, but natural decline, right? Another dangerous thing is that mycotoxins suppress immune system. You can even die from mold if you have a zero immune system, like AIDS patients. But most importantly, when the immune system is suppressed, the mold starts growing inside of us. Chronic vaginal yeast infection, oral thrush, all of these can be signs of mold overgrowth in our system. On the top of that, mold inside our intestines not only poison us with typical mycotoxins, but also mold produce high wall protein that mimics, guess what? Gluten. Imagine how much havoc it can produce in a gluten-sensitive person, even on the tightest, cleanest diet. On the top of that, it's been shown that mycotoxins trigger cancer because they inhibit RNA and DNA replication and proteins biosynthesis. So this is the fertile ground for cell transformation from normal to cancers. Furthermore, organism called Fusarium produces a mycotoxin that mimics estrogen. So the exposure to this particular mold can trigger estrogen-dependent cancers, breast cancers, uterine cancer, and so on. But even men, after exposure to this particular mycotoxin, can develop the signs of estrogen dominance, such as mood swing, excessive weight gain without any rational reason, even an increased breast growth. Imagine that. I don't want to scare you guys with all this information, but it's very important to understand that the mold exposure is a very serious and unfortunately very common health hazard in our houses, in our workplaces, schools, and so on and so forth. And I'm not talking about full-blown black mold infestation, like after major flooding, for example, or some obvious water damage. No, sometimes undetected water leakage, defects in the construction when the moisture from the foundation keeps accumulating. All this can result in the mold growing inside the walls, in the space between the walls. And it can goes undetected for years, with this mold self-propagating, producing spores, producing mycotoxins, and slowly killing the humans. Another inconspicuous source of mold growth is improperly installed HVAC. This machine in the basement that heats the house in the winter and cools the house in the summer. Sometimes these machines, when they work too efficiently and cooling down too fast, condensation starts to accumulate and the mold starts to grow. So it's super important to maintain all the appliances in a good shape, inspect them once in a while, and clean them up. So what we can do to prevent mold from growth? Number one, keep the moisture in your house or in your office no more than 50%. Buy some cheap devices called hygrometer and keep them on the floor to monitor the humidity in the house. Between 40 and 50% is the optimal to prevent mold accumulation. This is number one. Number two, keep a good ventilation in the bathrooms. In the kitchen would be produce lots of vapor, lots of humidity. Also, very trivial preventive measure is to keep the house clean. Seriously, because dust and other debris, it's a breeding ground for the mold. That's how it thrives. It needs food and it needs moisture, remember? Another preventive measure is the air filtration, but this measure works only if you remove the primary self-propagating sources of mold growth. Because if you have mold in your basement or in the HVAC, it will keep blowing the spores and mycotoxins all over the house. However, once you address all of these obvious sources of mold, fine air filters can help tremendously. One of the best ones is the whole house filter unit. It's called MERV 16. It has capacity to filter out the tiniest particles, much tinier than a spore size or mycotoxins. Like we're talking about 0.07 microns. And the last one, but not the least, is very interesting. Apparently, essential oils such as rosemary and the blend called thieves has a capacity to dramatically decrease spore counts in the air. Sometimes nature has the best answer, actually, if you know how to use it. So if you don't have any sensitivities or general aversion to essential oils, you can diffuse them in your living quarters, and that would greatly help with the mold spores. That's all for now. Thanks for watching and stay well.